Shalom, praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Harakakadash, the ones that older apostles are going to most on it rule well. Shalom to the brothers doing the work, Syrian truth. Uh, got this article on Axios, and it's basically going into how, you know, support for the state of Israel is basically, disintegrated over time. And it's not just a thing that happened with, you know, the Iranian war, even with this leg of the Israel Gaza, Palestine, whatever it is, conflict. Because every time it kind of resurfaces in like the last few decades, it always dredges up like those feelings. Um, but obviously now is the time where, prophecies become even more prominent, even more, um, clear and plain that, shit is getting peak, man. And it's now all those different emotions are basically being drawn. And then even with, technology as it is now with the internet, as it is now, as available as it is now, smartphones, where pretty much everything could be recorded and seen. And then, as things are happening, you're seeing it, live and direct. You're really getting a look at just how fucked these Amalek operates in them regions. And that's basically just shown like, all those myths that America, that the state of Israel kind of produce about themselves, where they're seemingly, some level of what do you call it, of renown, of some level of, greatness. Then it's actually just, it's just fucked up, you know, cruel, heartless, murder going down. That's a big aspect of it. So that's on Axios. It says Bibi torched U.S. support for Israel for a generation. So this is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is wreaking havoc on Israel's standing with Americans as the Iran war supercharges a deterioration in relations with the U.S. Why it matters. Israel's polling collapse among young Americans is hitting Congress too. Lawmakers who started out staunchly pro-Israel are becoming increasingly vocal critics. And yeah, because the whole idea, well, they thought they were supporting some righteous crusade, but lo and behold, you're finding out, these guys are moving like assassins, man. These guys are looking to do a G, uh, Eno, Eno side over there. They're looking to completely demolish and destroy them. Them Palestinians as they're called. So as it say, we need to have a discussion about how to normalize that relationship and what change is necessary. There's no doubt. Uh, Representative Jason Crow told Axios. Says assuming every Senate Democrat who's eyeing a 2028 presidential run voted against arms sales to Israel in votes earlier this week. 40 Senate Dems voted on a resolution to block arms sale to Israel, up from just 15 on a similar vote last April. Netanyahu's destroying the bipartisan nature in terms of support for Israel. And yeah, it's basically, the war hawks, the guys in government that they're benefiting from the military industrial complex. They're supporting, but then it's become clearer that it's just it's a never ending hole. It's a black hole, man. It's a bottomless pit for for money, for funding to fight that war. And then really there's no chance of victory, because that's the thing with Iran. It's become clear, whatever the victory conditions are, those things don't exist. So it says over in the House, some Democrats are turning against defensive support, including funding for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system that was seen as insanely fringe 4 years ago. So so even the Iron Dome, and I think as well the Iron Dome, like the warfare that Iran's doing with drones, with their very cheap drones, that's something that is overwhelming, like to the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome can't actually deal with and defend against that, because it's it's built for large big missiles from from long range, but then when you have like much smaller targets with drones, same defensive capability doesn't really work. And then it's just like how much money is going to be thrown in it, and then what does that? And the thing is as well is because of the war, like financial tightening, belt tightening. That's what everyone's feeling. So as I say, that was seen as insanely fringe 4 years ago. But multiple Democrats who voted for Iron Dome in 2021 told Axios they're done providing financial aid. So I said the big picture, older Republicans and white evangelicals are the last groups to hold majority favorable views on Israel, according to recent Pew polling. For every other group, Israel's favorability has collapsed since 2022, down 31 percentage points among older Democrats, down 22 percentage points among both younger Republicans / GOP leaners and younger Dems leaners. Yeah, younger people are going to be against it because they're going to realize, yo, we're going to get we're going to get drafted and slang into that war. They're going to get dashed into that war, into the meat grinder, and turned into, into fertilizer, for the earth over there. That's something that's become plain and clear. Down 14 percentage points among Protestants, 23% Catholics, and 20 among religious unaffiliated. Even white evangelical support, which was at 80% in 2022, has slid by 15%. So, the support, people are basically looking at that place and realizing, yo, there is no benefit to being, engaged in that whole region. There is nothing for them to gain, being slapped in the middle of that conflict, and there is no chance of victory for them. So this is what Daniel 2:40, and the fourth. Oh, actually no, 42 Salat. So that says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And yeah, with these different countries, nations, whatever, you had European nations pulling out support for Israel. Why? Because they've basically not cloven together, they're not cleaved together as one. They're not moving as one unit. They're a collection of different nations, and they have different strengths and weaknesses. The Spanish, the Italianos, the Irish, whatever, what would they refer to as the pigs? Portugal. These different nations had, were lacking strength, lacking financial means, lacking, military capabilities and whatnot, to where they're able to contend with the stronger parts of it, like Germany, France, etc. France is like militarily among the EU is one of the most prominent. So a lot of the prior conflicts, they've been there. Just as the UK will kind of back up America, so has France with a lot of them. But with now those cracks, that separation between them is all crumbling against the nation of Israel. Because why? It's prophecy as well. Jeremiah 49:20, it says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that you have taken against Edom, and his purposes that you've purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And yeah, the least of the flock shall draw them out. That's the reality of the matter is that nation, the state of Israel, they're basically the ones that are going to draw everyone into that region. They're going to draw everyone into that region. Yeah. And make them all, partake in that conflict. The reason why you have, drafts being spoken about, European nations, America, the reason why, it's like, oh, conflict, whatever. Everyone's kind of thinking along the terms of the Third World War Three. Is because why? Prophecies push there, and because this conflict that the state of Israel is drawing everyone into, that's going to be the one that boils over, and goes into that full on, World War Three military conflict, where all these different nations are gonna, get drawn in, and this will become, a blender, man. It's gonna become a complete, war zone, destructive war zone for everyone that's basically engaging with that, and it's gonna be, to their destruction. It says what Jeremiah 51:6 says: "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul." Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord Jehovah's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Jehovah's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And yeah, Babylon has been that exalted state, man. America's been that exalted place where it received, the prized position within the world. Everyone looked at America as, oh, though, places like Las Vegas, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles. These places are seen as the greatest, most exalted regions in the world. But now it's being looked at in the inverse, where it's become a curse to be in that land. The people they're bugging out in their minds. The economy, the monetary wealth, those things that were seen as a glory unto them, now they're looked at as, it's so all of a sudden it's not quite as promising in various ways. And then they're realizing, like, elsewhere, other regions are doing just fine. People say, like, Singapore, even Thailand, funny enough, China especially, even certain regions of Europe are doing better than America, when America, like, it's post-World War II, was the superpower, was basically had dominion over the whole earth. And, with that image being cracked, the conflict they've been drawn into because of the state of Israel, that's really showing, this place is done. This place is not as it once was. These guys are, going up in Iran, where it's meant to be one of those shithole countries, as they call them, meant to just be any, like desert place where they can just go, send their troops through, send the planes through, blow some stuff up, and then man just come in quick, go hoorah, and then do a Venezuela on them. Now it's being shown where it's been drawn into a quagmire. Then the Strait of Hormuz has basically become a focal point where it's revealed how fragile the global economy is. And then given that global economy is, so given that, all the reality of the state of America has been made plain. Everyone's looking at Israel saying, like, why America's got all these problems. Why are you bending over backwards into a pretzel shape to support the state of Israel? Everyone's kind of thinking that. And it's going to culminate in what? Everyone turning on America. Because, you can see with DJ Trump's behavior, he's completely been, enraptured by them. And, he's got to do his job. He's basically got to continue their, their agenda. And that's going to, have everyone turn against him, man. And the main one is Revelation. It says, they'll hate the horn burning with fire. Basically going to You know, look at America as it is. That whore. Basically pimped out, you know, as a military force. And, you know, them approval ratings are going to go to 0. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.